It was 1 year ago today that my mom asked me if I wanted to travel to Salem, Massachusetts with her. Of course, I said yes. The older I've gotten, the more I've realized just how important it is to prioritize spending quality time with your loved ones, especially your parents. So I jumped at the opportunity to spend a whole week in March avoiding those fall crowds, and we reserved 4 nights at the haunted and historic Hawthorne Hotel. After a very long day full of travel, we dropped our bags off in our room, which was located on the 3rd and most haunted floor in the hotel, and we walked across the street to Old Main Street Pub for dinner. We capped off the night with freshly baked cookies from the iconic Goodnight Fatty. And off to bed we went in anticipation of our very first full day in Salem. Good morning from Salem, Massachusetts.
Good morning.
It is my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom.
Yay!
And we are making our way to Red Sandwich Shop, I believe it is. And I just cannot get over how gorgeous all this architecture is. Mom, aren't you living for this?
It is so beautiful up close. Unbelievable.
She's
I
like,
love it.
you're totally like an East Coast soul living on the West Coast. So this is like our dream. So we're going to go get breakfast. We are going to go to the Peabody Essex Museum, which I'm literally, oh my God, standing right in front of right now. That's hilarious. That is so funny. It's that building right there with that blue sign. And then, we have a tour scheduled at 1 for a little bit of like pop culture history with Bewitched Tours. And we're just gonna kind of like hang out. We have reservations at Rockefeller's that I made for, or I think it's called like Rockefeller's, I made for her birthday. So we'll check in with you all. And are you ready for some fun?
Oh my God, yes.
Was a great time to hunt down some of Salem's most popular landmarks while the shops and businesses were still closed. This town's architecture absolutely took my breath away. We spent the bulk of our afternoon at the Peabody Essex Museum, which is an organization that is doing incredible history work. Their Native American history exhibit is phenomenal, and I gained such an affinity for bats after experiencing their small but engaging exhibit on them, and you can even spy on some live ones. If you only have time for one walking tour during your Salem trip, I highly recommend booking from the awesome folks at Bewitched Tours. They are not joking around when they say that they provide the most in-depth look at the witch trials, and I was totally here for it. I've been on a lot of history tours in my day, in many cities around the country and also internationally, and I think this one is very likely in my top 3 of the most impactful tours that I've ever been on. It is day 2 in Salem, and we are so full right now. We had a really great breakfast at Nathaniel's, which is actually at our hotel. Today we're going to do a bit of shopping, which is something that we love to do. So it's like our main thing, and it really feels like we have the whole city to ourselves. It's a lot colder today, so that's a lot to kind of adjust to as like a West Coaster.
that again. It's a rich thing.
We are absolutely living our best shopping lives. Those two stores were incredible. Where I live, I don't really have a lot of those stores available. So I really loved House Witch. They were so friendly inside, like literally the sweetest people. And then Oak and Moss, I really wish that was closer to me because there's a lot of like really cute plant stuff that you just can't really travel well with. The witchy stores were a huge highlight of the trip for my mom and I. She especially loved her tarot card reading from Lucas at Ascend. And while I was waiting for her, Stacy gave me such an eerily accurate interpretation of my aura photograph. My conversation with Stacy just reminded me about so many really important things that I hold dear to myself, some really important reminders to work on in the future. It was just really rejuvenating and exactly what I needed at that point in my life. Looking for a spot to rest and process the day's adventures, we indulged in a midday treat of cannolis and dessert cocktails that we had previously spotted the night before at Rockefeller's, but we were too full after dinner to get. 10 out of 10 recommend. We definitely shop till we drop. This little bag I brought. Yes, probably need to do a haul video because there's a lot of fun stuff out there on the Salem streets. We just wrapped up our second tour here in Salem, and it was really great. I'm happy that it was awesome. It was kind of rainy, so our tour guide, Violet, was a big trooper. She had like a great energy. I really loved like her approach to giving us her tour. It was a very different style than our other tour guide, but I responded really well to it. I learned a lot, and it's always good when you go to a new place to get different perspectives from different tour companies and guides. Right now, I'm inside the memorial for those victims of the Salem witch trials, and it's just really sticking with me, the brutality of this history, and I think that's the power of traveling and engaging with like site and space-based historical learning, you know, outside of classrooms or museums. Like you really just feel it. Like right here you have this perfect physical divide of the Salem witch trials, like the really big issue here, right? Like you have a lot of people over here buried in the cemetery who are responsible for the deaths of the people here that you see on the stones here. And you have the stones that have their names of all the victims that were killed, but you don't have, you know, the people who died in prison and everybody else who's been affected for centuries after the actual trial. So it's really powerful to see the actual sites of all the stuff that you learn about. And you know, it's kind of complex the way that they approach commercialism in this area, but it's nice to see that they're doing some pretty powerful history work if you find the right companies and people. Good morning. It is our last day in Salem, and we're getting a little later start today, but we got our coffee because we didn't want to eat too much before we have brunch today. And we are off driving 7 minutes to Max and Danny's house. It is a really gorgeous, beautiful day. We can see the sun. Yesterday was like super rainy, so this is very much appreciated. I think our main goals on our final day in Salem is just to make sure I get a few more photos and go to a few more sites, some filming locations, and just kind of get in some last minute shopping. So it's a pretty relaxed day. And then we wrap things up tonight with a ghost tour for the vibes, mostly. Probably not a lot of history going on with that one. Let's just take a quick moment to acknowledge the one place that we really want to take a picture in front of currently has a sewer pump going through with this big truck in the prime place where people take their photos. So we're adapting, we're adjusting. Enjoy my photos and videos trying to maneuver around this really large truck. Standing in front of the town hall that's featured in Hocus Pocus, and we're on our way to grab some brunch at the Derby, which was really cool to learn the significance of that name in our tour yesterday, where we're like on Derby Square right now. I think it leads you to the wharf or what would have been the water. I've heard really great things about this brunch spot, so I'm excited to try things because we only had like a coffee this morning. Town hall. It's really cool to see the filming locations of Hocus Pocus. It's kind of sad to see how like kind of run down they are, but it makes sense if you're being run by a nonprofit. It's kind of tough, or like you're an actual homeowner. And I loved how our last tour really talked about how they filmed it. Like, for example, Allison in the scene where she's coming down from the staircase, that was not filmed in this house right here. And I don't remember if I can't recall, but Mom, can you remember the movies that they've used that staircase? Because it's like an actual set. One name I remember is Matilda.
Was it Scream?
Oh, Scream 2. Yes, you're right, Mom. Scream 2 is another movie where they use the staircase that Allison comes down in Hocus Pocus. But it wasn't filmed inside here, just the exterior shots. I definitely feel like I'm in a ghost town. It's very foggy today. And I'm really excited to check out the store. My mom's hanging out at Gulu Gulu because she just needed to kind of like rest a little bit. But I wanted to venture out a little bit and check out one store, Coven, that I've seen in vlogs. And I'm like, whew, that place is screaming my name. So hopefully they have some cute stuff there today. Okay, I'm at the wharf. I definitely did some damage, but the people who work there are literally the sweetest. That place definitely is like my Salem favorite for sure. And I believe I was being helped by Helena, and I believe Dylan was their name, and it was just such a special experience being able to be in there. Barely anybody was there, and now I'm being taken away by the mist. So I'm gonna head back to my hotel and just kind of hang out for a little bit because we do have a little ghost tour at 6. I know I said I was gonna go back to my hotel, but I remembered one place I haven't really gone to yet and seen with my own 2 eyeballs that I really wanted to see in Salem is going to be John Bailey High School. Currently, I'm walking in a very foggy looking commons. Salem Commons is in Hocus Pocus. It's the part where Max catches up with Allison on his bike. She's wearing that really cute red little hoodie coat situation, and that's where she really slyly gives Max back a little paper slip that had his number on it. And where that scene was filmed is where I'm currently walking. I think through the fog, I think I see it. I think I see John Bailey High School, which actually is Phillips Elementary, I learned, has been abandoned even before Hocus Pocus was filmed. There it is! Besides the cemetery where Max gets his shoes stolen by ice, I basically have seen all of the Hocus Pocus filming locations, which is really cool since it's such a childhood favorite of mine. They're really accessible if you're staying anywhere near like the downtown Salem area. Basically, find the Hawthorne Hotel on a Google map, find a cheaper hotel if that's outside of your budget, and you're basically exactly where you need to be. I'm really surprised how walkable this area is. All of the biggest attractions, experiences, stores, restaurants that you really want to go to are all in, one location basically. Like, it's so easy. Huge shout out to Jessica from Pumpkin and Gray, as well as Taylor from Scaratonin for being really helpful with all of these Salem trips, whatever the content you make, and also the little questions that you answered for me that I asked. Thank you so much for that, because truly Salem is a magical place, and I see the hype. I see why people love this place so much. Guess who's back home in sunny California? Before I wrap things up, I did want to share what we got to on our last night in Salem, Witch City. Our last night was a really fun way to conclude things. Although our ghost tour that we did at night didn't include tons of history like I'd gotten with the Bewitched tour, our tour guide told us that today stands a restaurant, Turner's Seafood, where once stood the property of Bridget Bishop. If her name is familiar, it's because she was one of the accused, and sadly, she was the first person hung. I just feel like her experience, her story really spoke to me throughout the entirety of the trip, where I did learn bits and pieces about her life. And the Salem witch trials in general is just like another thing you could add to the list of like horrible things in United States history that just makes me so frustrated and so angry the more I learn, especially when I find out the ways that, a lot of the accusers just live their lives fancy-free, no repercussions for literally ruining so many people's lives. Okay, but this history teacher digresses. Where were we? Okay, yes. So we knew that there was a restaurant there that was once Bridget Bishop's property, or like on it, and that is Turner's Seafood. Apparently, it is the #1 restaurant on Yelp in Salem. Our great, awesome server did inform us. We had a phenomenal dinner. I think this has to definitely be my #1 food spot. I am a huge scallops girl. Like, if there is scallops on that menu, I'm getting them. I am not a cheap date in the slightest. Travel has always really given me a gift, the gift of perspective, the gift of presence of mind and, spirit, and this intentionality of like, I'm here to learn something new, I'm here to explore and be conscious and critical while I do it, as I've learned in my years of life. And that travel, that novelty is such a privilege that I just hold really close and dear to myself. It's just so nourishing and so important to me. Like, I really needed this trip for me emotionally, spiritually. Getting to do it with my mom was simply a beautiful gem of a treasure. Our parents aren't alive forever, and I'm somebody who has experienced great loss of one of my parents. And so literally every day with my mom is truly a gift. And vlogs are always tricky things because, you're always questioning yourself, like, is this actually something people want to watch? Will people find this interesting? I've invested so much time and energy into creating these kind of things in the moment, afterwards with the editing. So I just want to thank you so much for making it to the very end of this video. You are a part of a really important moment in my life. I definitely think I could do a video about like all the things I wish I would have known as a, first timer to Salem. That could be fun if people were interested. And I'll also be sure to link my travel playlist so you can see all the other travel videos that I've created so far. Other than that, I will see you all in my next video. Bye.